Impact segment tonight, leave it to the National Public Radio outfit to inject race into just about everything. A few days after the Arizona murders, NPR put on a commentator named Daisy Hernandez.
It's safe to say there was a collective sigh of brown relief when the Tucson killer turned out to be a gringo. Had the shooter been Latino, media pundits wouldn't be discussing the impact of nasty politics on a young man this week. They'd be demanding an even more stringent anti-immigrant policy. In short, the only reason the nation is taking a few days to reflect on the animosity in politics is precisely because the shooter was not Latino.
Here now to react, Fox News analyst Mary Catherine Ham and Juan Williams, who join us from Washington. All right, Juan, here's another NPR deal for you. I think they do this on purpose just to give you a feature on Monday night.
They're just setting me up.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. I don't think Daisy Hernandez said anything that's wrong, Bill. I think if you are black in America, Hispanic, Irish, if you are Italian, Jewish, you know about racial stereotypes. And when somebody in your group commits a horrific crime, there's a sense, oh, my gosh, it's going to feed the stereotype, all the negatives about us, etc. Where she's wrong is there's race and illegal immigration has no place in this story. You'd have to go, she had to imagine it and speculate about it and dream it up to bring this race into this story, and she's doing it because she's so angry at people who have a problem with the high rate of illegal immigration in the country. So it's totally illegitimate, and she's stirring this up to try to serve her political cause. And the problem for NPR is, you'll notice, they didn't allow anybody else to come on and say, this woman is a little bit off center here, and they would never allow a conservative counterpart to that message to be delivered on NPR.
What do you think, Mary Catherine?
Well, I have a little more of a problem with the actual statement than Juan. I think particularly the point where she says she could not think about the victims. This is later in the clip. She couldn't think about the victims or look up their names and stuff until after she had figured out what the race of the shooter was. That's like crazy callous to me, and I was surprised by that. But, I think Willy Wonka said it best when he said, in a world of pure imagination, what you see will defy explanation, okay? Last week was unfortunately not mostly about news coverage or mostly about mourning the victims. It was about a thought experiment in which the left and most of the media decided if they thought hard enough that rhetoric had somehow triggered this mass murder, then an unrelated mass murder would become the
word is fabrication. The fabrication on the far left, they fabricated, and Daisy Hernandez fabricated.
Well, and here she's fabricating a whole
This is what NPR should have done. All right, so I hope they hire me to run the operation. If you're going to have Daisy,
that'll be the day.
Oh, we'd have a good time, Juan. You'd be back.
You rock.
If you're going to have Daisy on, then you have to have a Muslim on. All right, and a Muslim says, if the shooter were Muslim, we would invade Iraq again. And then you have to have an African American, and then a Native American. And that's how absurd this whole thing is.
Well, that was my point to you.
There's a cliche.
You get lost in your own anxieties and your own fears, and you're making up stuff. You're not dealing with the reality.
Here's the big picture. There's a responsibility on the part of any news operation, and NPR purports to be one, to be responsible. So you're looking at Daisy Hernandez and you're going, with all due respect, Ms. Hernandez, why are you injecting race in a heinous situation, all right, a mass murder, when there isn't any race involved? Why are you doing that? Is there
But you know the answer to that. She's fighting illegal. She's mad at anybody who's saying, we got too much illegal immigration in the country.
Is there a news purpose for that commentary? Does it serve any purpose other than to give me a segment on the facts?
Well, that's not a bad reason, but no, it doesn't serve any purpose except here's their thinking, though. See, I'm going to take you inside the thinking. They think they are being progressive and liberal, and they think that they are opening the door to the minority community's position on this. And then, of course, that is so patronizing.
I don't believe there's any minority position on this. I think Hispanics watching the factor and I go, Daisy Hernandez is crazy. I think it's just Daisy Hernandez's position. Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
Look, it serves a purpose in that it's yet another level of fabrication and imagination whereby you actually end up being able to bash the very people they've been bashing the rest of the week for this imagined connection to a mass murder. That's what it ends up being.
Let me ask you something, Mary Catherine. There were some right-wingers last week who were saying that, if it had been a Tea Party person, they were rooting that it was a Tea Party person. This is the assassin, they being the far left. They were rooting. Right. Now, I thought that was unnecessary, too. I said to myself, well, why are you bringing that in? All right?
Well,
how do you know? Maybe
I
some
think
of them were rooting for it.
Right.
But
I
you
think
don't know that. Go
Yes,
ahead.
but a lot of that was a defense mechanism to the fact that within an hour, I was essentially, and others like me, were essentially being accused of abetting a mass murder we had no idea what the details of were.
What do you mean you?
So that was
Why you?
On actual social media networks, people coming at you and saying, oh, Sarah Palin and people like you caused this. And so reacting to that, people said, well, you sound pretty excited about blaming this on somebody like me with absolutely no details whatsoever. So that was where that reaction came from. And certainly do people sometimes go overboard, but frankly, when you're being accused of abetting mass murder, you get a little testy.
Yeah, you get a little testy, but you don't make one dumb statement. You don't use one to counter
Which is why I'm careful about that thing.
All right,
but
Juan,
I'm
real short, wrap
that.
it up for us, please.
Well, you know what's interesting? I was going back to your segment with Britt Hume, Bill. I think that what you've got here is the right feels defensive at this moment. You know, all that negativity was directed towards him. People were just looking for an opportunity to blame him. And then you get people like Cohen or you get Bill Maher taking their shots because they think, you know what, the president wasn't speaking to us. He's speaking to the right. But you know what, the country thinks he was speaking to us all.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank